Hello, welcome to the next lecture in your series. In this lecture, we'll be talking about how to persuade others into believing what you say. So you have started your essays, have you? Your assignments, your thesis? Now the next thing to consider is how to make your readers believe you and take action on the issue that you have pointed out. So in your topic 6, it talks about persuasive writing. So it talks about the arrangement of persuasive writing, the reasons, the purpose, the types, the sources of information, relating the argument. It gives you a few persuasive strategies, and it also takes you through the reasoning process, direct and indirect patterns of organization, the voice, credibility, and so on and so forth. Now that you have constructed your argument, how do you convince others that you are right? Here are a few academic theories about how you persuade other people. The first one, something called bait and switch. You make a great offer that never happens. This is actually a kind of cheating because we make promises but we do not actually fulfill. Next is the door in the face. We cause the rejection and then we make real the offer. The foot in the door, we make a small offer, and then we make a bigger offer, and we follow it with a bigger offer. Some people try to get your persuasion through forced compliance. Obligation to obey. They say things like, if you don't agree, then you're not thinking like a Muslim, like a Christian, or like whatever else. Finally, you have the information manipulation theory. This is where you break one of the 4 conversational maxims. Now, these are interesting. Please go and look for Grice, and you'll learn about his conversational maxims. When you're talking about persuasion, there are factors important in persuasion. A, priming. Setting up memory use later. This is when you feed the person information that you will use later to help them change their minds. And B, reciprocity of norm. So you do something nice to the other person, and the person will feel obliged to do something nice to you. You see, you do some. It's sometimes we call this, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. In C, you have something called the scarcity principle. People tend to want something that is of limited availability. If you say that, for example, a certain dish is available every day, people might not buy it. Tell them the dish is only available during this period. They'll be rushing to buy it. Why? Because they know, or they think, that after that period, the dish will no longer be there. They will have missed it. And D, of course, there's a sleeper effect. When persuasive messages increase effectiveness over time. This is when you tell a person something and you let that thing fester in their minds. So it will continue and continue and continue, and it will eventually make them change their mind. Another influence that helps with persuasion is social influence. How we are strongly influenced by others. You remember how sometimes somebody comes to say to you, please buy this, and they say, oh, all your friends have bought them. See, that's because a lot of people say if their friends buy them, they want to buy it too. Some advertisers, some people, for example, use subliminal messages. Actually, this is a famous method, but it is a sham. Some use ultimate terms. You have to understand that some words are just particularly more powerful than others. Ask is not as strong as demand. Then you have weak ties theory. How far does influence go? Yale, a university in America, ran an attitude change approach. experiment some time ago. So it became the Yale attitude change experiment, change approach. These are factors important in persuasion. A few years ago in Yale, they had a multi-year, multi-project research into persuasive communication. And it showed that, amongst other things, things that affect a person are who, the source of the communication. Speakers should be credible, attractive to the audience. Says what, the nature of the communication. The message given should not appear to be designed to persuade. Now, the person talking must also be seen to present two-sided arguments, to be refuting the wrong, to be saying something right. Now, if two people are speaking, one after the other, the best is to go first, the primacy effect. If two people are speaking with a delay between them, it is best to go last, the recency effect. To whom you're talking to, the nature of the audience. Distract the audience during the persuasion. Lower intelligence and lower and moderate self-esteem in the audience helps. Apparently, they found that the best range to persuade is between 18 and 25. For example, watch politicians. They do this wonderfully well. They look great. They talk through the other side's argument, making it seem reasonable, then highlighting all their problems. It all seems to be just common sense spoken with a really nice person. So use the advice. Note the point about not appearing to be designed to persuade. People with new understanding about persuasion can go too enthusiastic about using it, quickly getting to the point where the other people know what they're doing. Persuasion principles are actually quite simple. Much of persuasions and other forms of changing minds is based on a relatively small number of principles. If you can understand these principles, then you can invent your own techniques. So does it make sense for us to introduce to you a few of these principles? First, alignment. When everything lines up and there's no contradiction to cause agreement, what this means is you make it seem like there is total agreement between you and the other person. But what you are actually doing is steering them towards your understanding or your perception little by little. Secondly, amplification. Make the important bits bigger and other bits smaller. You can see this in advertisements. A potato crisp can suddenly be the most important thing in the world. Appeal. If you ask nicely, we will follow the rules we have made for ourselves. Because people want to follow things, but there must be a reason. Arousal. When I am aroused, I am fully engaged and hence most likely to pay attention. That is why you find advertisements are lively. So if you can make your essays lively, people will be more likely to follow what you are saying. Associations. Our thoughts are connected. Think one thing and the next is automatically connected. So when you write, use words that connect the people, the reader, to things they like, whatever that may be. Assumption. Acting as if something is true often makes it true. So, when you are writing your essay, it is helpful to make assumptions that are not necessarily true, but only true if you want it to be. And finally, you have attention. Make sure they're listening before you try to sell them something. So, you begin your essay or your paragraph with something that grabs their attention. Once you do that, they will be more open to listening to the rest of what you're saying. With that, we end this lecture. I will see you again in the next I lecture. Until then, goodbye.